Congressman and member of the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Pat Harrigan. Congressman. Congressman, we were just talking with Mike Carter over at the White House. He talked about that red line, that 60 days that the president had given Iran to come to some sort of agreement that would be acceptable to the United States. Today is day 61. Talk to us about your reaction from you and your colleagues on the Hill in terms of this very bold military operation now being undertaken by the Israelis.
I think the reaction up here on the Hill is overall very supportive of Israel's determinative ability to provide for their own safety and security. I also think that President Trump has been very clear from the beginning with Iran, giving them 60 days to come to terms in this negotiation. I've also seen reporting today that very clearly the intelligence changed in the last couple of days, and assuredly that has been what has triggered this attack. As Israel felt like it was in an existential crisis, which, look, dealing with an adversary like Iran, who is responsible for thousands of American deaths during the war on terror, is the world's foremost sponsor and exporter of terrorism around the world. We have to take them at their word. And when they say death to America and death to Israel in their streets, and the intelligence turns in a direction that yields the leaders of the free world to come to the conclusion that there isn't going to be a deal here unless the paradigm changes, I think that we can imagine that it's appropriate to change the circumstances that govern that discussion. And I think that's exactly what Israel has prosecuted here over the last 24 hours.
And Congressman, by changing the circumstances, you particularly mean getting rid of the existing regime?
I don't necessarily think that it means getting rid of the existing regime. We will see what President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu decide to do. I'm very interested to see the results of the call later this afternoon, and I know that they've been talking over the last several days. But I do think it means showing the Iranian regime that America and the West and Israel are very, very serious about denuclearizing Iran. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I cannot say that adamantly enough. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the show of force that has happened over the last 24 hours kind of resets Iran leadership and their thought process over making a deal, which I would strongly encourage them to do, very clearly we have the capability to achieve decisive overmatch against Iran here. They do not hold the cards. We hold all the cards. Once they properly understand that, I think their decision-making processes change.
Congressman, real quickly for me, the president was talking about the fact that a lot of these weapons that Israel is using right now, including the planes, that this is American military hardware that they have even been granted or they have purchased from the United States. Do you think that there will be support among your colleagues on a bipartisan basis to help the Israelis if they need additional military hardware to combat Iran if this becomes a protracted situation?
Look, I think that we've got to be very clear about who our friends are. And Israel is our longest standing ally in the Middle East. We are certainly not friends with Iran, who, as I said earlier, they're the greatest sponsor and exporter of terrorism around the world. And they have represented and continue to talk about an existential threat that exists to our greatest ally in the Middle East. We should have unequivocal support for Israel here, but we always need to act in the United States' best interests. And I know that that's exactly what President Trump is doing right now.
Congressman, on that point, we know that Iran has long blamed the United States for being, for being somehow complicit with Israel in any attacks that Israel launches, calling the United States the Great Satan. I know you said they often say death to America. Should there be any concern among Americans about retaliatory attacks here on our own soil?
I don't think that we should ever underestimate our adversaries around the globe. And as we saw, Israel actually set up covert drone bases inside of Iran over the last several months, preparing for this attack that they've initiated today. Given the change of circumstances in the negotiation around the nuclear deal, we also need to be very concerned about our adversaries' capability to do that to us here in the United States. That's why I have been so vocal about making sure that our foreign adversaries cannot purchase land here in the United States, particularly land around our military bases, because we have seen the proliferation of very inexpensive yet highly capable technologies around the globe. And whether that's in the theater in Ukraine right now, whether that's what we've seen in the fight between Israel and Iran, these technologies, these threats are very real. They are very capable. They are very inexpensive. And we should not underestimate our adversaries' abilities to launch those attacks anywhere in the world.
Congressman, real quick, the open border over the last 4 years, everything that you're talking about, it seems like that would have made their capabilities that much stronger and make it much more of a perilous situation for the people in this country.
There is absolutely no question that the open border that President Joe Biden allowed to have during his 4 years as president of the United States made this country far less safe. We had over 10 million illegal aliens come into this country. We do not know who they are. We do not know what their motivations were. We do not know what their future intentions are. President Trump is working as hard as he possibly can to secure the border. He has done that, but there are still folks in this country who almost certainly have interests averse to ours and will do anything that they can possibly do to undermine the safety and security of the United States of America.